Okay, I'd like to open the Bedford Township Planning Commission regular meeting. It is May 28, 2025, 7 o'clock. If we could stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move on to item 3. Mr. Andrews, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Trombley?
Here.
Montry?
Here.
Mr. Dersch?
Here.
Lake?
Here.
Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Andrews is here. Mr. Helm?
Here. Approval of the minutes. Approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Support. Okay, Mr. Dersch supports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Moving on to item 5, approval of the minutes from the May 14, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 14th, 2025 meeting as submitted.
Support. Mr. Dersch supports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we'll move on to item 6, public comment. Your comment, if you wish to speak, is limited to 3 minutes.
Is this in regards to the public hearing as well? No, okay. My public comment then, Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance.
Thank you.
My comments then I will go to, well, you actually have all public hearings, don't you? I'll wait and talk to each one individually. Is that
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, new business. Item A, open the public hearing regarding the request from RT Group 3 LLC, Rutger Brecky, authorized representatives of Mr. John Gaber, attorney, and Mr. Nathan Wagner, Cash and Wagner Associates, to rezone parcel number 5802-026-059-05, a plus or minus 11.44 acre parcel from C2 Shopping Center District to a plus or minus 8.19 acre portion to RM2 multifamily residential, to be combined to the adjacent parcel 5802-026-059-01, existing RM2 multifamily residential, otherwise known as 576 West Stearns Road, a plus or minus 1.93 acre portion to C1 local commercial located on Lewis Avenue, and a plus or minus 1.31 acre portion to C1 local commercial on Stearns Road, vacant land located on the east side of Lewis Avenue, north of Stearns Road. Ms. Rector.
I'm not going to repeat all that you just read. I'll just go briefly. The authorized representatives are Mr. John Gaber is the attorney, and Mr. Nathan Wagner is from Cash Wagner and Associates. The owner is RT Group 3 LLC, Rutger Brecky, 321 Woodland Pass, Suite 100, East Lansing. History on the property. On December 13, 2023, Planning Commission opened the public hearing for the rezoning request on the subject parcel. Previous owner was Rivercrest Properties. The submitted request was for the entire parcel to be rezoned to RM2 multifamily residential, when at that time, due to the lack of a quorum, the request was deferred by the applicant, and I included those minutes. On December 20th, 2023, the Planning Commission continued the public hearing and recommended to the Township Board to deny the request, and I included those minutes. The item was scheduled on the January 23rd, 2024 Township Board agenda. However, the applicant withdrew the request and no determination was made. Site characteristics. The vacant subject parcel is approximately 11.44 acres with 363.69 feet of frontage on Lewis Avenue and 370 feet of frontage on Stearns Road. The request is to rezone from C2 Shopping Center approximate 8.19 acre portion to RM2 multifamily. And in the map, it's highlighted in red with the intent to move forward through the land division process and combine to the 14.4 acres of RM2 multifamily parcel to the east, highlighted in blue. a 1.93 acre C1 local commercial on Lewis Avenue, highlighted in green, and a 1.31 acre C1 local commercial on Stearns Road, highlighted in yellow. And I included the survey map that was provided by the applicant. The master plan designates this site as mixed use, intending to allow a blend of residential office and lower intensity commercial uses outside the township village center of Temperance, Samaria, and Lambertville. Ms. Lucy Fortin from the Manikin Smith Group and planner for Bedford Township provided an overall review of the subject area, and the information is included in your packet. Ms. Fortin's review, the recommendation for the following is recommended as follows. Given the site constraints and the anticipated intensity of the proposed development, we recommend that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the Township Board to deny the rezoning request for the parcel located on Lewis Avenue, identified by the parcel 5802-026-05905, from C2 Shopping Center District to RM2 Multifamily Residential District and C1 Local District for the following reasons. The proposed C1 portion of the site can potentially be divided into multiple separate commercial lots, increasing development density and intensifying the impact on surrounding uses and the broader area. The proposed RM2 portion of the site lacks sufficient road frontage on Lewis Avenue to accommodate an adequate designed independent driveway entrance. The current frontage does not meet Monroe County Road Commission standards for a safe and functional access, including minimum driveway width, proper curb cuts and tapers, and required deceleration lanes. This deficiency compromises access, safety, and functionality for a high-density residential development and may lead to traffic and circulation issues both on the site and along adjacent roadways. Once a recommendation is made from the Planning Commission, the proposed rezoning will be requested on the first available Township Board agenda, and should the Township Board make a determination to approve the rezoning request, the proposed land split parcels will be required to move forward through the land division combination process with the assessing department. As rezoning, the proposed areas would create split zone parcels without a land division process. The Planning Department has been informed and received a preliminary conditional approval that the resulting two proposed parcels for C1 local commercial and the proposed resulting RM2 will be created and combined to the parcel to the east. And I included that letter from Mr. Mayer, which is the lead assessor. I'm going to quickly go down. I know you all received the letter from the attorney for the applicant. But so the applicant can confirm and see that the analysis was provided with all the information from the planner and the sketch that they provided, and then what I highlighted, so the commission can be confirmed of what's being proposed to commercial, multifamily requested to be rezoned, and then that would be combined to the parcel to the east. And then this is the letter from the assessing department providing a conditional approval should the rezonings be approved. And at the time, I did speak with Mr. Mayer, and they can move forward with that once a determination is made, as we would not create split zone parcels as they would exist today.
Okay, are the authorized representatives present? I'd like to come up and state your name and address for the record, and if you want to add anything.
Yes, thank you. Could you put the drawing up, please, with your colors?
Do you want the one that's highlighted or yours?
Yeah, the one with your colors. Yeah. I mean, that's wonderful. Appreciate it. It's a good reference. Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is John Gaber. I'm the attorney for the applicant, for the developer of this proposed project. My address is 380 North Old Woodward, Birmingham, Michigan. And I have with me Nathan Wagner. Nathan is our civil engineer for the project, so he can probably handle a lot of your technical questions. We appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you this evening for this request, this mixed-use request, which is, you know, as Ms. Rector had mentioned, different than the rezoning request that came forward over a year ago. That was to rezone the entire parcel to RM2. And now, you know, it's recommended to be a split zone so that we can preserve the commercial along Lewis and Stearns and have the multifamily behind it, combined with the other parcel that we have outlined in blue there that's also RM2. So she went through the parcels, and, you know, we appreciate that. A couple of the other features of the site, there would be shared driveways. We've talked about that with staff. For the commercial and the multifamily residential, both on Stearns and Lewis Avenue. Those are really site plan issues, but I wanted to point that out for your benefit tonight. So if you look at the rezoning criteria, and your planner did a pretty good job of listing that in her planning report, one of the most important criteria is that the rezoning is consistent with the master plan designation and your future land use map. Your future land use map provides for a mixed-use type of development in this area, which is exactly what we're providing by, the multifamily and the commercial frontage in this particular development. Secondly, the RM2 rezoning is consistent with the surrounding zoning and the surrounding uses of property. The multifamily use is consistent with the apartment use west of Lewis Avenue, the Redwood apartments that are currently there. It's also consistent with the zoning of the undeveloped 14-acre parcel that's outlined in blue there, that's owned by the applicant as well. So the potential RM2 uses for this property, the principal permitted uses, it's really multifamily, single-family, duplexes and such. So it's going to be a residential type product, and we're proposing for an apartment type of complex. So we believe that the RM2 rezoning is consistent with the surrounding uses and zoning for those reasons. We also believe that the frontage parcels for C1 is consistent with the surrounding uses and zoning. C1 is consistent with the current local businesses along both Lewis and Stearns that currently exist. And C1 business uses, I will point out, as you well know, are a little less intensive than the current zoning, which is C2. There are some permitted uses in C2 that are not permitted in C1. The C1 business services the adjacent residential properties, the adjacent residential, single family and multifamily, because you've got retail businesses that are permitted uses, personal service businesses, medical and general office uses, restaurants, banks, child care facilities, those type of uses that facilitate the surrounding residential areas, and that's what's being proposed with the C1. Finally, another criteria that's important is you look at the development trends in the area and see if the rezoning is consistent with those trends. And your planner mentioned that point too, and agreed that we comply with that criteria. We're providing apartment housing to service, young professionals, empty nesters, and people in between. We're providing neighborhood commercial to service these users with this rezoning. And in addition, is providing a transitional buffer use from the commercial on Lewis and Stearns to the residential properties to the northeast of the site. So for those reasons, we believe we satisfy that criteria as well. Now, Ms. Rector, went through the recommendation of your planner, and we really need to have the opportunity to address those two reasons that she thought would recommend denial, because we disagree with both those reasons. The first reason she mentioned is that the proposed C1 can be divided into multiple separate commercial lots, thereby increasing impacts on the surrounding property. We don't think that's the case. First of all, we don't have any other land division rights. We use the final land division right to be able to provide this configuration. There are no more land division rights that have been granted to any of these parcels, the parcel in blue, the parcel in red, the parcel in green, or the parcel in yellow. So therefore, they can't be further divided because there are no split rights to do that. And if you look at it, even if you assume that there was a split right to be able to divide it, what could you do with that property? Your zoning ordinance requires 100 foot of frontage, of width, for a commercial property in C1. These parcels, the one on, one of them is 200 feet wide, the other one's 299 feet wide. And what that means is you could only divide them once if you had the land division rights to do so. So essentially, you've got a limited area here. You've got 1.93 acres on one of the commercial parcels, 1.32 acres on the other one. There are only certain limited things that you could do with those. I guess you could put separate buildings, but you could put one building with multiple tenants on there currently. And that could be a more intensive use than two separate buildings with single tenants. So there are different ways you can configure this to put your tenant mix together. So we believe that essentially what we're proposing is no more intensive than even if you could put two parcels there, split it into two parcels, that result. So for those reasons, plus the fact we don't have the split rights, we disagree with that response, or pardon me, that reasoning from your planner. The second reason that she gives for the recommendation of denial is a lack of sufficient driveway frontage on Lewis. And we take issue with this as well for the following reasons. First of all, this is a site plan issue. It's not a rezoning issue. The applicant will work with the Road Commission and the township to ensure vehicular access management standards are met during the site plan review process, which is what takes place with all of your site plan reviews. The acceleration, decel lanes, tapers, curb returns that were mentioned by the planner, those are going to be in the Lewis Road right-of-way. They're not going to be on the property. And Lewis Road currently is 90 foot wide, the right-of-way itself. So there's ample room for such improvements. Additionally, we believe that we'll be asked to donate an additional 15 feet to the road right-of-way when we go through site planning, through the Road Commission, because what they're going to want is 120-foot right-of-way for this entire road. So when site plans come forward, that will be one of the requests. So therefore, there's going to be room on the road right-of-way, particularly with this additional frontage, if that's requested and then granted, to put these improvements, to put the taper lanes and such, which is normally what happens. It's usually not on the parcel, it's usually in the road right-of-way itself. The next point is the width of the driveway. That driveway access that you see on Lewis Avenue is 64 feet wide, and that driveway access already exists at Lewis Avenue. 64 feet is sufficient because essentially what is normally looked for in these access drives is 30 feet of pavement. So you'd be putting 30 feet of pavement in the 64-foot width that's being offered here, and then any other improvements. If there are landscaping, sidewalks, whatever they may be, there's ample room to put those within the 64 feet as well. So therefore, we do think that there's a sufficient drive width here, sufficient drive access to share between the commercial and the multifamily residential. And we believe that the drive standards that are imposed by the Road Commission will certainly be met in this circumstance. So for these reasons, we take issue with the planner's recommendation because we don't think her rationale and the two reasons are quite valid. And because of that, and because of the fact that we believe that we meet the criteria for rezoning, we believe that the site should be rezoned as presented, and would respectfully request your positive recommendation this evening. So I'm here, Mr. Wagner's here to be able to answer any questions that you may have, and we appreciate your attention tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Anything
Chair?
to add? I'm sorry.
At this time, maybe we should take public comment so we can then close the public hearing before we talk any further about the actual process
Correct.
of the rezoning.
Is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, can I add a couple things? Nathan Wagner, Cash Wagner and Associates, 402 East 13th Street, Jasper, Indiana. I'm the civil engineer of record for the developer. And I was the one that presented back in December of 23, I guess. And I think the general consensus back then was, or the main issue was access, right? We were trying to rezone the entire parcel to multifamily and still provide access on Stearns and, or maybe just Lewis at that time. But, and the other was preserving some commercial land. And I know we talked about, is there really a need for an 11-acre commercial parcel? Or would it be more appropriate in this case? Should we reserve the rear of the property for multifamily and commercial up front? That's why we're presenting the plan we have. With this plan, we've reduced the number of units, multifamily units, by a third compared to what we proposed back in a year ago. When then we've preserved the frontage for commercial, which would be a C1, which is less intrusive than the existing C2 commercial. So overall, less intrusive than what's out there currently. We do have a draft traffic study that was developed for this project, and then the results of that traffic study only showed an improvement of a right turn taper added to that Lewis Avenue driveway. So no new turn lanes. It is a 5-lane section right there with a 2-way left turn lane. And it did not recommend a fully dedicated left turn lane or a right turn lane, just a taper into the existing into the existing driveway. And in the right-of-way, existing right-of-way plus the additional we plan to dedicate, which was taken into account in this plan, would be ample right-of-way for that taper. A Stearns Road driveway would not be required to have any additional turn lanes, right or left, but we have been working with the Road Commission, and we have made up a plan to actually add a right turn lane and a left turn lane on Stearns in this section. It'd be extending the turn lanes that are at the intersection now, given all the site constraints through there, which originally, if you knew, there just wasn't ample right-of-way to do any road improvements on Stearns. That's why we looked at this, adding this. I'm sorry, yes.
Anything else you want to add?
That's it right now.
Okay, thank you. I guess if there's no objection, I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:20.
Make a motion, we open the public hearing.
I can just open it.
You can just open it?
Yeah.
All right.
You have 5 minutes?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, how exciting. Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. All right, my vision is horrible. So excuse me if Jody, I need to ask you more questions. I was here for the last one. And to me, this is just a way of manipulating residential in between any of the blank spaces between commercial, and we don't do that here, do we? And to rezone it is just a rezoning. We don't get to put, and he can't tell us he's going to do that because he's not obligated to follow through, if I recall right. Very well spoken attorney. But my question would be, is that they've got plenty of places to put homes there. And if green and yellow is going to be changed to commercial, where is the plaza that's already there? And where is the new commercial that was just done by John's trailer? I mean, because I don't see that listed on there. That's just the properties they're wanting to deal with. Lewis Avenue is horrible as far as traffic, and that's always been. If any of you went to the site and looked, or if you drive that routinely like I do, when you're going north on Lewis, anybody that wants to turn into that bank does not get into the turn lane because the turn lane goes one way, and that's left onto Stearns. So you have the merge lane, which is supposed to be for the commercial or getting around these people waiting to go into the bank. That has become one of our worst intersections in the county. We don't need more cars. What Ms. Fortin has said is truthful. The roads are not set up for this type of traffic. And if they can still divide your multi-businesses, and if the drive access gives you the number of cars, we can't limit. Hickory Creek's got the same setup. They've got the nursing home, and they can't even find places to park their residents, so they had to buy the property next door for their employees to park. But your residents go in and out, and anybody will tell you trying to get in and out of that intersection is awful just because of girths across the street and Bedford Drive and the ice cream parlor. That's just down the road. Then you have the plaza that is just south as well. So it's a bad intersection all the way around. And so more traffic is going to be a negative impact shut that red section off there so that there's no drive and tie it into the green. Why do they need to have Lewis Avenue at all, period? Put your business over on Stearns Road with the blue. The yellow is commercial, and I'm not sure, again, where that pops into the plaza with all the other, but again, that's a horrendous place. They don't even have enough parking in the plaza area. So there's always issues going on. But that's the whole deal. You look to the south, per se, when you're up there at John's Trailers, and you can see it. It's just a cluster because people have to go left and right, and they can't turn into the bank because that lane is dedicated for one way, and when somebody gets into it when they're not supposed to be, then you've got a head-on waiting to happen. And if they can still divide it, they can still divide it. It doesn't matter how many units they can put in there. So I would definitely, just because the fact that you're rezoning doesn't obligate them to anything. They just get to rezone and can do with it as they see fit afterwards. You're on a very slippery slope, and it's going to be a mess at that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing.
I'll support it.
All right, Mr. Lake supports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, moving on to discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Ms.
you could
Rector.
also have the applicant's representatives come back up now at this time in case any of the board members have any questions for us before
By all
we go.
means.
Yeah. And I put this display up, this page up, because it does show a little bit of the area for Ms. Keene to see. This is the property in hash that's being requested to be rezoned. This is where John's Trailers is. This is a plumbing location, I believe. This is Pavlov's. This is the credit union. This is the corner piece that has the subway plaza. I call it the subway plaza. I don't know. Bedford shops, I think, maybe.
Bedford Square, I think.
Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bedford Square. I call it the subway because everybody knows where Subway is. And then across the street is the west side of where they reference. This is Jacob's Supply. Vacant. This is, I believe, the ranch house. This is a commercial piece. This is a commercial. This is Oliver Place Apartments, and this is Bainbridge. And they have a shared drive coming off Lewis and a shared drive coming off Stearns, just for some clarification of the area.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of the representatives? Anybody want to mention any concerns? Yay or nay? I'd like to hear some ideas. Go ahead. Mr.
I'll
Lake.
start maybe more discussion than anything. Actually, I think this is, I kind of disagree with Ms. Fortin on the traffic piece because Lewis is such a wide road there, my personal opinion at that point. I also applaud this because it's taking some of the commercial off the market. We have an overabundance of commercial already on that Lewis corridor. I think taking some of that off for housing would make very good sense. I also think the plan, now you can debate whether C2, C1, I think C1 might have been to appease the Bedford Township as opposed to, what makes most sense there as far as those commercial properties. But the way that they're positioned in that the frontage is not super great. You could split it technically based on the frontage, but again, 1.9 acres is pretty minuscule for any type of split. Same thing with the location on Stearns. It's even smaller, right? They've got the frontage to split, but would they? I tend to doubt that. So when I think about the overall traffic, yeah, it'll increase traffic, but anything is going to increase traffic. Anything is going to increase traffic. So I hear traffic a lot when I come to these meetings, but I'll be perfectly frank. That is not a legitimate excuse. There will be ways, there will be things that they can do. Mr. Wagner already mentioned, working with the road commission to figure out how to mitigate that, right? Nobody wants an unsafe condition, and I'm sure the Monroe County Road Commission will do everything in its power to ensure that it's not. So in my personal opinion, I think this makes a lot of sense. I think Mr. Gaber, I believe, yes, answered all the questions I had before I even asked them. So I'm pretty satisfied with where this is at personally.
Okay, Mr. Lake, thank you. Anybody else have any comments for discussion?
I'll echo some of the same things that Mr. Lake said. Initially looking at this, I had some concerns and questions, and those have been answered. I think there's still maybe a few more things hanging out there specific to the roads, and it's a road commission issue more so. I think, having that adjacent commercial with the drive, I think you mentioned shared drives is a possibility. I know that distance from the intersection becomes a concern, and having adjacent drives next to each other also becomes a concern. So, again, with Mr. Lake saying, is 11 acres of C2 necessary there? It's been there for a long time. Will it ever be developed? And then you look at the surrounding area, and even going outside of what Ms. Rector mentioned, there's several more commercial properties, both C1 and C2, of 1 to 2 acres up to, I think, 5 or 7 acres available at this area. And they've been sitting there for quite a while at this time. And again, with the subdivision, I was looking at Huntington Bank, for example. They're 1.8, 1.9 acres, and with all the parking and foot traffic they have in there, there's no green space on that parcel. It would be hard to subdivide something of that size, I think, to satisfy the parking requirements. And then when you add employees and other square footage of retail space, those requirements go up even more, thus limiting the ability to split that. So again, I'm glad that the developer and your team took into comments of the board from last time and really tried to work with what was given here to make it satisfying for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Dersch. Does anybody else have any more comments, questions?
I can say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Andrew, go ahead.
I was part of the last hearing related to the previous arrangement, so thanks for considering some of the comments from the commission at the time. The addition of the commercial lots, I think, makes sense through the area. Last time you presented a site plan or conceptual site plan, even though it wasn't a site plan review, you kind of brought one in good faith. Could you speak to what changes have been made? I know you said the reduction of residences in the new complex was by a third. You reduced by a third. Could you speak to the plan, acknowledging that obviously the request is to rezone, not for site plan approval, but just...
So when we were here to rezone the entire parcel last time, I think the density calculation allowed like 110 units. And by reducing it down to the 8+ acres that we're proposing, the density would calculate to about 72, 77, I think, units. So it cuts it by a third.
That's in addition to the 140, was it?
Right.
And then 4 single units.
Right. So total would be about 216 apartments. And for comparison, the Oliver Estates in Redbud over on the west side of Lewis has 262 units.
that includes the apartments and the
Redwood.
condos. Okay.
Yeah, and it's almost a mirror image, if you would, where those two combined share 2 driveways.
Right.
One off Stearns, one off Lewis.
Remind me, was the plan to do a kind of hybrid approach at this parcel as well, if you were to receive the zoning with an apartment building and separate condo-style houses?
That's not the plan. It would have a little bit of different look, though, more brick, a little more upscale.
But just the apartment style?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I would like to add a couple more things. The driveway off Lewis that's existing that Pavlov's used today is like 500 feet north of the bank driveway, so there's considerable separation there. And the traffic study did look at the intersection of Lewis and Stearns, and the level of service there is not great, but it's a C, which is acceptable. And with this added traffic, it would remain a level C and only add somewhere like 1.3 to worst case a 4-second delay at that intersection if this was fully built. But the level of service would remain.
My recollection from the first application, we talked about this, and you kind of compared the traffic that's created by commercial is similar to that of an apartment complex, and I disagreed with you. Do you remember that?
I think I was said that the commercial would present a lot more traffic than apartments.
But spread out throughout the day versus at 8 in the morning and at 5 in the evening. Because people leave, go to work, and then they come back.
That's true, but the same token, people can also leave their apartment and stop at McDonald's and grab coffee at that same peak hour.
Yeah. You know, my objection to this is...
It really depends on what commercial the use is.
Mm-hmm.
There's varying commercial uses, varying.
I mean, you're already going to build some apartment buildings, and that's fine. It's zoned properly. It's just a matter of, do we want the additional? So I have an objection. Obviously, it's zoned RM2, and you've started working on that. But I just see the additional traffic. Is it worth it? And then it isn't Bedford demanding the rooms, the space. It's people from Toledo, right? Do you agree? I just wonder who your tenants are in the current Oliver house. I mean, I know somebody who lives there, and anecdotally speaking, they're from somewhere else. They're not from Bedford.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Partially true. They do cater to they cater or they desire to bring in people that want to live here, that need to are looking for a job and can't find that type of housing.
You know, and I know there's a housing crisis going on, and people can't afford to buy a house. But should we be the solution to that problem? You know, and the mere fact that I think we uphold our ordinances and try to keep that rural feel about Bedford, that's a reason why you want to build here and charge a premium rent for the space, right?
Right.
As opposed to going down along Alexis Road, there's probably a lot of property you could redevelop down there, right? Not far.
It's actually hard to find multifamily zone property. You know, that the reason the blue was already zoned multifamily, which is why we latched on to it to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I said, I can appreciate that you're doing something in the area that's already zoned RM2, and there's going to be plenty of units going up in that. But I'm not in favor of the additional space. Anybody else have any comments or? Go ahead, Mr.
First is just drainage. I'm assuming you've done some preliminary drainage studies and understand that there may be some potential constraints with this area, digging back to the Oliver Apartments in Redwood when that was built.
Mm-hmm.
So there are plans to address that and make sure there's no backups or flooding and the existing ditches can handle that.
Yeah, we'll actually be more restricted than we are by ordinance because of some existing downstream culverts that the Drain Commission has pointed out to us and we've looked at. So, you know, if we can release, I don't know, it's like 2 to 4 times by ordinance than what we will be releasing. So we're going to hold back quite a bit more.
Okay, and then Ms. Rector might need to help me. There's a designation in this area for conservation. I don't know if that's the right word. The key's not on from Ms. Fortin there, but it's like a green space area. So has any consideration been given to maintain that in your development? I don't know the proper term, Ms. Rector. The key's not on here, but it's in the master plan.
At this time, there is no designated conservation easement that I'm aware of on any of the property, but
it's like a green space designation in the master plan.
Green space designation would be whether the applicant provides that through the site plan approval process and what's required for screening and buffering. It's going to abut residential, but the commercial will abut residential, and there are some setbacks. And having said that, I just wanted to give some clarification regarding our planner's review on the comments of the density and the comment for the road commission comment that she made regarding the 64 feet. I believe it's 64 feet in width, and her comment was because, as even the applicant stated, it's only 30 feet wide, and the rest is a remaining of an easement. Pavlov's does use that easement as well. The comment is that I did speak with the road commission as well after that comment was put in our analysis from our planner, as we do not oversee the roads of the jurisdiction of the road commission. And I was advised that they cannot say that that 64 feet will serve as enough for a commercial curb cut. The driveway access will be private, of course, but the design will have to And until there is a site plan and a traffic study included, they would not provide any other further comment on the design of the access because it's not submitted for a site plan. So I believe that in speaking with Ms. Fortin after that, I believe the intent was to make sure to advise the commission it needed to be discussed because it doesn't possibly meet the requirements of the Monroe County Road Commission for a commercial driveway approach. The other comment regarding the intensity and density are two different things. I believe the C1 is a less intense use. However, the density is increasing. The C2 that is existing, the entire parcel, would provide for all C1 uses to be developed. That could be carved off. The comment on the I'm just trying to provide information of the comments that were provided. Regarding the split rights, I believe at this time the state is looking to allow for additional split rights. I'm not sure exactly where those processes are. I believe it is at the House that I was approved in and will have to move forward to the Senate. But those are the reasons why those comments were made for future, because they were restricted on the number of land divisions they could have. But should the state change those requirements, those C1 pieces would be able to be divided into other commercial pieces. So that's just food for thought, and I believe Mr. Camper.
And just to follow up on that, as the state of the Land Division Act right now, any parcel would get a new generation of land divisions after 10 years.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that, though? I mean, you still have the same area. You still have a 1.9 acre parcel or 1.3 acre parcel. You can basically max that out now with commercial building, or you could split it and possibly be able to get the same amount of building. When you consider setbacks and such, you may not be able to if you have more than one parcel. So I think it's really a fallacy to say that you can add more commercial development to these two parcels if you split it. I think what you have is what you have, and you're constrained by the size of those parcels, be it combined or separate. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
Could I add a response to your greenbelt or conservation issues?
Yeah, and it's called recreation and open space. It's on that future land use map on
Right. I mean, this
page
is our
23.
This is our concept site plan. You probably can't see it, but we've got some areas highlighted around the perimeter that we're trying to preserve, some buffers and existing trees, and that type of thing.
Anybody else? Oh, Mr. Andrews.
So per Jody's comment, she's mentioning that maybe the Monroe County Road Commission might have some thoughts on the 60-foot wide access off Lewis. It's off Lewis, right? Did the traffic study, the preliminary traffic study that you did, consider no drive off Lewis and maybe presumably 2 drives off Stearns? You have access off Stearns in 2 spots.
It did consider a Stearns Road only access.
Would that be 1 or 2?
One only.
Okay.
That's all the road commission wants.
Gotcha.
With a single drive off Stearns, it did require the right turn lane westbound and a eastbound left turn lane. But we're looking to provide those anyways after we've been consulting with the road commission.
Sir, please. Sir. Please. Trying to have a meeting. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, without the Lewis Drive, it required, the traffic study required the turn lanes on Stearns. But we're looking to provide those anyways.
Thank you. Anybody care to make a motion?
I guess I'm
Okay.
make a motion. I'll give it a shot here, right? So I'm going to recommend we approve the recommended zoning request because, one, it aligns with the master plan. It also removes commercial zoning that's unneeded. And that zoning request is for parcel number 5802-026-05905. And the zoning request was a plus or minus 8.19 acres of RM2 multifamily residential be combined with plus or minus 14.5 acres, I'll call it, zoned RM2 parcel to the east. And then two parcels, 1.93, C1 on Lewis Avenue and 1.31 on Stearns Road.
Motion's been made. Who cares to support?
I'll support, but I guess to clarify, we're making a recommendation that the township board approve this.
That's correct.
Correct.
In front of that body. So we're not approving it. We're just making the recommendation that yes. So I will support on that and agree on those terms of removing the unnecessary commercial property. And, like I will say on the road piece here, it's really not our privy to decide whether or not that's sufficient. It does go to the road commission, and it sounds like that conversation is in progress. So, that will be addressed through the site plan process.
I'd like to make one comment, and rejecting the request is also within the master plan. It's how you interpret it. Okay, Mr. Andrews, would you care to call the roll, please?
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Dersch?
Yes.
Mr. Trombley?
No.
Mr. Montry?
Nay.
Mr. Mahoney?
Nay.
Mr. Andrews says yes. Mr. Helm?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-3. We're going to make the recommendation to the township board. Trust you'll take this to them and present it?
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Appreciate your consideration. Thanks.
Have a good evening. Safe drive home.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
before, in case they determine they want to head out, I do have it requested to move forward to the Township Board on the June 17th meeting. I cannot make the June 3rd meeting. The agenda is already scheduled. So it would be sent to the Township Board on June 17th. Once a determination is made, just for the record, I have spoken with the applicant, and they possibly may need a variance to move forward with the site plan if they move forward, and the deadline would be July 14th for the August 4th meeting, just for their information.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item 7B. Open the public hearing regarding the request to amend the Bedford Township Ordinance number 44, known as the Township of Bedford Zoning Ordinance, which originally became effective May 5, 1977, is to modify Article 19, General Provisions, Section 400.1903, Accessory Buildings, Accessory Building Table. Okay, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. It is 7:46. State your name and address for the record.
Gail Kane, Temperance. The accessory buildings and the building table, I've been to enough of your meetings that I know that that seems to be the majority of a lot of your BZA issues. The question that I would have are things that when the accessory buildings are taller than, say, the home or the homes in the surrounding area. That's where because we don't get anything. There's nothing online. There's nothing at the table or anything to look at to back up and backtrack on. That would be the only things, and it would be their appearance. If you go down to Stearns Road by the expressway, the Amish have put up all these pole barn buildings, and that's where they're coming up with all these crazy ideas. I mean, you look at them, they're all sizes, shapes, colors, whatever. But to me, it would be, and I'm not certain what you have in your ordinance there as far as whether it should or, what you've got for your height and your the appearance. That would be the big thing that I think, as a neighbor, that's what I would be looking at. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak at the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed at 7:48.
I'm just going to quickly run through this. This
Thank
is
you.
all the comments in the clean New ordinance, all of the beginning of the ordinance all remained the same. We added the section of the ordinance, excuse me, that, let me get down to that, where we say 11 accessory buildings shall require a building permit except where the accessory building is 200 square feet or less, in which case a zoning permit shall be required. We did change that. Building department cannot require a building permit, so we made it a zoning permit to provide at least they still can pull a 200 square foot shed. However, it would require still setbacks and where it's at on the property. In regards to the concern of setbacks and the height, we did determine to move forward with amending the accessory building because we do get so many variances on accessory buildings. And what happened was we were allowing 800 square feet, and then it went up to 2,500, but only by a 0.05 of an acre. So we did address those comments. We have the additional height and then the additional setbacks. Should we get a variance, it will be included in there that this ordinance was just amended to provide some flexibility to property owners. However, we're not allowing increase in height then to just turn around and ask for a setback variance. So we'll have to educate the BZA board that those are going to be what they're going to have to look at, that we move forward with allowing these additional heights, and there's a reason then for the additional setback. The taller the building, and the building official agrees, the taller the building, the more increase of a setback from the property line of a neighbor should be encroached on. I believe those are the main changes that we made. This will be the new actual language and how it will be presented. I did not get any comments or questions back, so if we don't have any, or if you have some more further ones.
Mr. Andrews.
Could you elaborate on a zoning permit? What's required with a zoning permit?
Zoning permit is going to be, I actually included it in the packet. A zoning permit is anything under 200 square feet. Otherwise, it will require a building permit. The zoning permit, when we talked about it, the board agreed a zoning permit as such with a fence permit is going to be a zoning permit. It would be $100. It's going to cover the review fee and an inspection to make sure. It will require a plot plan, a site plan of the property and the building location. Accessory buildings and rendering. We want to see what the building looks like, what size of building it is, and where the number of buildings are on the property, because there are requirements. Most of the locations only permit 2, and it is a total square footage. So if they have 2 accessory buildings, it's the total of those that they're permitted. So if it's permitted 2,500 and they have one that's 1,500 already, they would only be permitted 1,000, and they would still have to meet those setbacks. And so that's why we're requiring 200 feet or less. You're going to be a very small property normally if they're putting up a structure 200 square feet. So then they would have to show the height, the length of the building, the width of the building, total square footage, number of other buildings on the property, and we want to see where it's at to see that it meets the setback requirement for the structure from the property line. We're not requiring, the board determined not to require anything for fences or buildings with the boundary property lines as a cost to the property owners. So at least this way, we at least have something on file that the property owner is advising. They know where their property lines are and the building is within that setback. Does that answer your question?
It does. As it stands today, though, for a structure 200 square feet or less, none of this is required.
None is required. And we felt like at least requiring it, we can educate the public on what is required. And building code still requires 10 feet from each building, from building to building. This way we'll be able to determine where it's located. Is there another structure in the area? Is it the setback requirement even for building to building? And right now there is none. They can come in. We tried to guide them that they should be the 5 feet from a property line, but there is no requirement of that at this point, as there's no permit required for 200 square feet or less.
And you said there is an inspection component too?
It will now have an inspection on it as if it was a regular structure, and that will be the building official going out.
Good question. Anybody else have any questions?
I guess I'll ask on the inspection piece. We're not looking at the structure necessarily from a building standpoint. It's more the setbacks and placement to other structures on the property. Is that?
Well, the building official's still going to want it. We're still going to require a submittal of what they're putting up, correct?
Yeah, I'm just
It's
thinking.
less than 200 square feet.
Correct. Yeah, I'm just thinking some less than 200 square foot buildings might be a plastic shed. That's not going to meet building code. So what are we looking for? When
That's why that building code wouldn't require, even if it was a wood structure of 200 square feet or less. So that's why we're asking for a site plan of the property, the building location, and what is going to be installed. So if they're getting a plastic shed from Menards, bring in that photo of what the shed's going to be, site plan of what your property is, what other structures you have, should you have a pool, those type of things, and then where is the building showing the setback from the property lines, even if it is a plastic pre-built shed from Menards.
No, understood. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. And I'll say I like the changes to the table. I think it's a lot easier to understand in some ways. And, even looking at a quarter acre to 0.45 acres, 1,000 square feet is pretty generous. 32 by 32, 24 by 40 are pretty good sized structures that are adequate for most people to store a couple vehicles in or whatever they need to. So I like this change. I hope. I've seen the BZA seem to kind of take a different stance in some of these variances recently. I'm hoping we do take a little bit more harder line and look a little bit harder at some of these and what is the real practical difficulty, because now that we're revising this, it should hopefully cut down on a lot of these variance requests.
And I will add, where we started talking about this, getting some type of zoning permit for the 200 square feet, is when we tell a resident they can put up a 200 square feet structure. Sometimes maybe they have already 200 square feet and then they're up to 400 square feet and their parcel size doesn't allow for two structures. This way we're at least addressing all concerns with the size of the parcel that they own, what they can actually have.
More proportional at
Correct.
what it was. And just, I talked to Jody earlier about how do you define what constitutes a building in a deck with a pergola or a roof as an accessory structure? Because that's common. People put decks with roofs and pergolas on and add that to your shed. That's 400 square feet, so.
I will advise this as well as a recommendation to the Township Board for any motion.
One more question. How do these changes get communicated to the public? Does it go in the township newsletter they do twice a year? Does it go in the paper? What is that process to at least get this information out should it go forward with the township?
Well, we will put it in the newsletter. We just can't put it in the June newsletter because there's no determination yet made on it.
Yeah.
But however, we can provide that there is some changes to the accessory buildings and the fence ordinance should the Township Board approve them. And it will be updated on the website through the Municode once the Township Board makes a decision 8 days after publication. It will be posted through the Municode. Most people still call, and this way we can start guiding them that we have been, those that have come in, we've been advising them that we are reviewing the accessory building table to avoid some variances that may be coming should the Township Board approve it. And otherwise for fences, we advise that we definitely want to have some kind of permitting for fences to avoid concerns and educating the public.
Okay.
Okay?
Anybody else? Anybody care to make a motion?
I'll take a stab at it. I will go ahead and make a motion that we recommend the Township Board adopt Ordinance 44, known as the Township Bedford Zoning Ordinance. Ordinance number 44, to modify Article 14, General Provisions, Section 400.1903, Accessory Buildings and Accessory Building Table, as presented in our packet.
Support.
I think I got it right.
Is that Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Tremblay supports. Can you call the roll, Mr. Andrews?
Mr. Dersch?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews says yes. Mr. Helm?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item. We'll open the public hearing regarding the request to amend Bedford Township Ordinance number 44, known as the Township of Bedford Zoning Ordinance, which originally became effective May 5, 1977, as to modify Article 19, General Provisioning, Section 400.1912, Fences. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment about fences? Anybody at all? Anyone?
I don't want to disappoint Jody. Gail Kane, Temperance. Regarding the fencing, the color, because that wasn't adjusted from what I'm trying to remember here, again, because there's nothing available to me to research here. But the color is something that was not going to be addressed, and I think that it should be. I think if you're going to put up a fence, I know the survey was the big thing. So the survey, if it should be questioned, it should be the person that's putting the fence up that should have to get the survey, not the person that's questioning it. And again, I believe that there should be something noted about color, that it needs to be a typical wood tone shade or white, beige, something of that. Nothing that's neon green or decorated with handprints that are in glow-in-the-dark paint or something like that that's facing the neighbor. So that would be the only issues that I could think of that maybe was not touched on, because I know it's the positioning and where it goes and the lay of the land, how it's supposed to be at the bottom of the ground. It's supposed to touch the ground and not 4 inches above that ground level. So those would be the things that I would hope that would be covered in the ordinance. It's been since 2016 that we've been waiting for this to be taken care of. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Support?
Mr. Deere supports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? A, the public hearing is closed. Discussion.
I'm going to be brief.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms.
You're good. I'm just being brief. Only changes that we really made, I know we spoke heavily on the color, and I'll let Mr. Camprath reiterate that for the record. However, the only thing we did change was fences may be located along a property line. However, no fence may be located within the road right-of-way. A zoning permit shall be required from the Bedford Township before the installation of a fence, and we are requiring the zoning permit. And on the zoning permit, the property owner is required to determine their own property lines, as Bedford Township does not determine property lines, a site plan of the property and the fence location, rendering of the fence to include material, type, and color, and it's a zoning permit of $100. Same thing will be at least a site visit done for an inspection to make sure that a lot of residents don't know that beyond the front building line or what a front building line of their home is can't be more than 3.5 feet in height in a residential district, and it must be decorative. Our ordinance does define decorative, but I will let Mr. Camprath at least address again for the record of determining on the color and putting it in the ordinance. I believe it was talked about being subjective.
Thanks for the hint. Color is a difficult thing because my wife loves red, and anything red is great with her, and I'm not the same. So I don't know how you regulate color because it is a difference of opinion. And sure, you can have pastels, you can have bright oranges and lime greens. I think the township had a house that was crazy lime green color at one time. I don't know if it still is. And there is some freedom and constitutional ability to do your own thing on those regards. What a color would, Ms. Keene talks about color, and I don't know how we're going to regulate that or how you would define what's not appropriate. Just saying brown colors, I don't know if that's appropriate, but I would not want to get into regulating color in any regard.
Now, what about everything else? So, I'm okay. This is the entirety of the verbiage in the ordinance, correct? Is the fences may be located along property line?
Nothing else is changing. That is the only thing we are adding to the ordinance. The whole fence ordinance is going to stay the way it is. We're just adding that language to define it clear.
So the specifics of front yard, corner, height, all of that is
all
already
of that is going to stay.
Okay.
I didn't ask this part. Can the neighbor paint their side of the fence?
Pardon me?
Can the neighbor paint their side of the fence their neighbor installed?
If it is not their fence, I would assume they could not paint the fence.
Not even their side.
Not even their
they wanna
side.
go
If they
fluorescent
don't own the
orange.
fence, it would be no different as trespassing on someone else's property.
And again, it's important to have your fence all on your property, so there is no trespass. That's kind of the reason I would prefer to see a survey, a line survey, not a boundary survey, so you know that the fence is on your property, and preferably you'd put it a foot inside your property line, not on the property line, to avoid those questions.
It's like ordinances are created just for 2 or 3 bad apples, you know, that's the unfortunate thing. Anybody else have any other comments?
I have a question.
Yeah, Mr. Andrews.
I think I missed the last meeting when we resolved this. I see the line on the zoning permit. Bedford Township does not determine property lines. Did we land on a survey is not formally required? That needs to be submitted. It does not need to be submitted with the
Yes,
permit.
I believe those minutes were included, and I believe it was determined that the commission felt as a whole at that time that the cost to the property owners, the time frame to the property owners to be able to put up a fence could be lengthy to wait to put up a survey. So we determined that we were going to at least advise that the township does not determine them, and also the discussion of the deed restrictions, that the ordinance does not supersede deed restrictions. We advise what is permitted by ordinance, and we do not advise and enforce the deed restrictions of what's required. So I believe at that time the census of the commission was to move forward and not require the property owner to have a property line boundary line survey done to provide to the township.
So in the case of the zoning permit application, what is being reviewed?
Well, the most important thing was to inform residents of what is permitted, what is not permitted, where a front building line is, 3.5 feet in the front, what's permitted by ordinance, height in the side and the rear yards. Overlay districts have different types of requirements for fences. We want to know where it is, what the fence location is, how tall are they. They can't change the grade. The good side of the fence must face outside planks. So more or less the zoning permit is to educate the residents before they put up a fence to try to avoid neighbors having an issue with how the fence is installed.
I guess maybe the better way to ask it, is there an inspection that will
Yes,
follow?
the $100 fee is going to be for same as with the accessory buildings. Review for the information. We're going to provide the fence ordinance at all times to the residents when they come in, and there will be at least an inspection that the type of fence was installed, and it is at least where and what size is required and permitted by ordinance.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and do it if no one else is willing
Thank
to
you,
do
Mr.
it.
Dersh.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend the Township Board adopt the change section to Ordinance 400.1912 fences as presented in our packet, which is Item 1, General Requirements, Section D, and the attached zoning permit.
Support.
Okay, Mr. Tremblay supports. Mr. Andrews, can you call the roll?
Mr. Dersh?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Aye.
Mr. Montre?
Aye.
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews says yes. Mr. Helm?
Yes.
And Mr. Mahoney?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 8, public comment. Dan? Okay.
Come on, Dan, get up
Oh,
here.
Miss
Share the
Kane.
podium. Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. Thanks for the discussion and the explanations. You guys are doing great. I just have some comments back on number A. Lewis Avenue is not a full 5 lanes in that area. The 5 lanes is to the south of Stearns Road, so that's where the concerns are. Prairie Woods on Stearns Road still has 3 or 4 sections to be completed, so we certainly are not in need of housing. And part of their issue was, if it's the same guy, they had an issue with the road commission wanting them to put in a turn lane and two entrances into that other subdivision, if I remember right. And they didn't want to have to spend that kind of money. So they looked to find an outlot. So what is the best way to cut that light? You go down Stearns, shoot through their little housing development, and you go out onto Lewis Avenue. You can do it on the other side. You get tied up and you see it back up at Lewis, go into the duplexes and go out through the apartments and go out onto Stearns Road. The road commission, they didn't want to comply with what they wanted to do, and so the whole thing of it is that corridor there, the 5 lanes was put in for commercial, not residential. So this is where the whole problem is. You have the fire department just down the road. You have the commercial property across the way that's not been developed as yet. It's just a matter of time and looking for something to happen. But, you've got the college up there. That's a deer crossing there. There's deer hit on a weekly basis through there. John's Trailer, I talked to them. They didn't want to come because they said they're not going to listen to us. They'll let them have their way. That's a sad attitude for all of us to have in this township, to think that our concerns, because we're not here, aren't listened, or someone's not using their logic because they don't travel that way. It's a very dangerous section right there. Very, very dangerous. You got, Temperance Animal Hospital's got 2 ways in. So it's just, it's a very confusing thing. The same thing with the liquor cabinet and the same thing with the plaza. Everybody's got 2 driveways, and you got people coming and going and cutting through all of them just to cut that light. So just my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, use the website. Flashing. Ordinance change.
Item 9, information.
Information. That's me. Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Rector.
I'm just going to give information in my comments and staff comment, and then you don't have to come back to me. First of all, we will be having a meeting on June 11th. I'm bringing back was requested for the sound for speakers ordinance to have input on again. Please review the language that was provided. I think I did send that back out again. And I'm going to bring back the CIP for discussion. Please keep in mind, CIP already moving forward on the budget meeting, not for this fiscal year, for next fiscal year. I am going to send it to 2 of the Park Commission members that did ask for the information, and they may attend the meeting for discussion because I know there was some concerns with the parks. Yesterday I got an update from Ms. Fortin. There is 543 responses on the website for the survey, so that was informative, good news. That will be on the website until June 13th at 5 o'clock. So any residents, please go on to the website and take that. The clerk's department does have some, and so does the planning. Hard copies if anybody does not want to work on the website. In front of you, I provided everyone a meeting memo with all the dates from the meeting for the rest of the year. I know summer is coming, and I would appreciate if you know ahead of time. Please don't wait till I send an email that we're going to have a meeting, only because it gives me an advance notice to make sure that applicants are aware of it if I have a public hearing come in. But I would like to know if you have any dates that you are going to be out to advise as soon as possible, even if it's not till December's meetings. The more advanced I know ahead of time, the better we can provide for the applicants. And if you have any requests that you would like something on the agenda, my deadline is the Tuesday the week before. So as my packets went out last Thursday, the Tuesday before that Thursday is the deadline to get me something if you have anything you would like to have further discussed on an agenda. I try to let you know when we're going to have meetings, so if you have any input, anything you want me to include with the CIP or the sound for this outdoor speakers, as long as I have it the Tuesday before the meeting, I can provide it in the packet for all members to have it ahead of time. That is all I believe I have. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10, commission staff comment. I'll start with you, Mr. Tremblay.
Nothing for me.
Mr. Montre.
Nothing for me.
Mr. Dersch.
Good to see participation on the survey. I think we surpassed our last survey, or we're pretty close to surpassing it, so hopefully when the newsletter goes out, more folks take that. Kind of pivoting off Ms. Keene here, definitely encourage the public to participate. I know all these adjacent landowners got notifications that there was a public hearing regarding property adjacent to them, and it would be nice to see folks come in and tell us your thoughts. Let us know what you're thinking. You're for it or against it. Give us your thoughts. It really helps the board understand what the consensus is in the area. So with that, I say good discussion from the board, though, and I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thanks for promoting the survey on your Facebook page. You and Josh Stump do a good job of that. Mr. Lake.
All right, I think 500 of those were probably just Pat, like going and deleting.
I've got a
this.
lot of opinions, and I'm willing to share them.
But no, that is good news to hear. There's been some good participation in the survey.
Awesome. I'll just remind everybody, June 13th is the Veteran Center 5K race. It's $30 to run 5K or $25 to walk it. We need volunteers, sponsors. Please help if you can. And then August 2nd is the Inspired Woodworking Bedford Veteran Center golf outing. So please come out and golf. It's $100. Sponsor the event. It's great. Mr. Helm, thanks again for your sponsorship, and it'll be fun. Mr. Andrews.
Nothing from me.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll close the meeting. It is 8:15. Thank you.